Everybody knows the Hells Angels, Pagans, Mongols, but do you know about the Black Spades, Savage Nomads, and the Ghetto Brothers? Today we talk about the clubs and gangs that dominated the Bronx and New York City in the 60s and the 70s with no cameras or cell phones. Let me know in the comments if you're old enough to remember the phone booth. It was the Wild Wild East where buildings were burnt down, pimps ran the streets, and if something happened to you, the only way cops could save you if God was walking with you and they happen to be driving by while you're getting stomped out. And let's just say, at this time in New York, they might not even stop. Let's get into it.
We run the night. We run the night. Run.
Big shout to the Ghosts and the Ghostettes. Welcome to Demons Road TV, the holy grail of MC culture, where we cover everything motorcycle and motorcycle club involved. I'm Sos the Ghost. I'm your host for the evening. Today we're going to take it back and talk about some clubs that nobody really talks about. And if you're not from the New York scene, maybe you've never heard of it before. So we're going to break it down club by club. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like content like this, smash that like button. And the first club is the Black Spades.
This is before your time. What about the Black Spades? Were they there with this before your time?
That's before my time.
So in the 70s.
They put me on all that. Moms put me on all that.
Yeah, the Black Spades, Savage Skulls, Savage Nomads,
Yep.
Cut Your Heart Out and Squeeze You, all that. They I was taking the bus, the 41 bus, because I'm at Fordham.
Yes.
Going to school.
The BX41,
I'm legit. I'm in the back of the bus. Here they come with the shirt sleeves cut off, the whole thing. I'm looking at the bus driver. He's like, "You ain't getting no help over here."
I'm keeping my eyes on the road.
Nobody on the bus. You're me, of course. I'm the black man in the back and the corner on the right side. Here they come. Nice shoes you got, B.
Oh, here we go.
man.
Here we go. Never want to hear that.
Yeah. I said, yo, man, what size is that? Where you from? I just got here from Florida, man. I couldn't say Mount Vernon because they've been up there wreaking havoc.
Where'd you go to? Where'd you
Fordham University.
Fordham University.
The Black Spades was a mostly black street gang started in the Bronx in 1968. Their formation was created to create solidarity and protection at the time, marked by the poverty that was going on in the Bronx and the racial tension. African Bambaataa, who created the Zulu Nation, and DJ Kool Herc, two hip-hop pioneers, were both members. They were the biggest black collective in New York at the time, and they were originally known as the Savage Seven before they changed into the Black Spades. Now, the way it started was like a lot of typical gangs in rough neighborhoods, and it was to protect their neighborhood from people that would come in, rob people, stab people, those type of things. The Black Spades were at the center of the birth of hip-hop. Their parties were the start of what every club in America plays now. They merged with another group called the Ghetto Brothers. We're going to talk about them too. And it was a famous event. It signified unification in the Bronx, killing the violence between them. Towards the end, members left and went to the Casanovas and the Universal Zulu Nation. African Bambaataa was the warlord of the Black Spades divisions. He left, and he is the one who started the Universal Zulu Nation. If you don't know about Zulu Nation, they were nothing to mess around with. They were part of the four nations: Latin Kings, Zulu Nation, Nyetas, and La Familia. These four groups ran New York in the 80s and early 90s. Fun fact, I was actually a member of the Zulu Nation early when I was young, about 13 years old, before I got locked up and did juvenile time. The Ghetto Brothers. The Ghetto Brothers were founded in the Bronx by Benji Melendez and his brothers Robert and Victor. The Ghettos were another movement tying the Spanish and blacks in the community. The Ghetto Brothers set their sights on helping people in their area and trying to stop the gang violence that made the Bronx during the 1970s one of the most dangerous places to grow up and live at the time, with burnt down buildings everywhere to the point where they called it the burnt down Bronx. All hell broke loose when a ghetto brother named Black Benji was murdered by one of their rivals. Allegedly, those responsible for his death were the Immortals, the Mongols, and the Black Spades, according to the club's founder, Benji Melendez. A big truce meeting of all the gangs was set up as a result of what happened. In the meeting, Benji Melendez spoke directly to the seven Immortals, telling him how they had taken his brother out of this world, but he still wanted to unite and stop all the senseless killings that were occurring. They winded up brokering the peace. The Ghetto Brothers also created a Latin rock band that created their own style before even hearing about Santana. They released one album, Power Fuerte, in 1972. In the late 80s, the Ghetto Brothers and the Savage Nomads formed a nation in Connecticut called Los Solitos. Homicide Inc. Homicide Inc. was founded in the late 60s in Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York by Ruben Santos, aka Big Man. He was the supreme leader of Homicide Inc. and their support clubs, the Crazy Homicides, Homicide Laws, Young Homicides, and Homicide Outlaws. So these were like their support clubs. The club was predominantly Puerto Rican with black members too. They would have 200 members all over Coney Island on a given summer day. The Homicides connected with the Flying Dragons in 1974 and took banging to a whole new level that many had never seen before. If you know about Coney Island and the famous Nathan's, it's a huge amusement park in Brooklyn, New York, but a very dangerous neighborhood. A lot of people that are not from New York do not know that. They would have members working on every ride. So if you were down with the crew, you was getting on every ride for free with your girlfriend. Must have been a nice proposition. From selling narcotics to pimps in Coney Island, they were into it all. They had Coney Island on lock. So if you wanted to make money out there, they wanted in. The Savage Nomads. The Savage Nomads started as a gang and transitioned into a 1% outlaw motorcycle club. The Savage Nomads were founded in 1970 by a native of the island of St. Thomas named Benjamin Melendez, Black Benji. In the beginning, they were called Nomads on Wheels, and their turf was the Bronx, New York. They were regarded as one of the most infamous Bronx, New York street gangs at the time. They were known worldwide. The Nomads were always a mixed club. They didn't have the racial barriers. That's a common theme on the East Coast. Puerto Ricans and blacks moved together on this side. As they expanded, they spread all over the 5 boroughs and even in Connecticut. In 1973, after Black Benji got locked up, fellow Vice President Crazy Joe took over as president until his death in the early 80s. The Nomads are also featured in the following documentaries: 80 Blocks from Tiffany, 1979, and Flying Cut Sleeves, 1993. The Savage Nomads remain active to this day and continue to fly their colors proudly in the Bronx, New York. The Satan Sinners Nomads. The Satan Sinners Nomads were founded in Tompkins Square Park in 1988, right after the infamous Tompkins Square Park police riot. They formed a club to establish a brotherhood of ex-members of older clubs that existed. Their first clubhouse was located in Alphabet City on the Lower East Side on 4th Street. The founder of the club was Cochise, Manny, and ex-Kato's Nunchuckers was Supreme Vice President. A great majority of their members came from Midtown 42nd Street and the South Bronx. The club disbanded in 1993 when Cochise tried to kill 2 members of his club by throwing them in the East River. They survived and he went to prison for 18 years. While in prison, he disbanded the club and changed his life around. Today, he's an author and an artist. The 7 Immortals. The 7 Immortals were a well-respected, vicious NY street gang at the time. They were responsible for the first ever gang meeting truce in the Bronx. Now, when I mean responsible, it seems that the Immortals, the Black Spades, the Mongols, and the Ghetto Brothers got into a violent rumble that ended up in the death of Black Benji, who was the peacekeeper of the Ghetto Brothers. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this content. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear about more clubs from these older, dig in the crates a little and talk about the 60s and the 70s, get into a little history. I enjoy talking about some different stuff sometimes. I love doing the interviews. Let me know in the comments what you like the most. Interviews, history, what kind of content you want from Demons Row. And get your Ghostavelli motorcycle rider mask now. They're on www.demonsrow.com. Thank you for tuning in to Demons Row TV, the holy grail of MC culture. Like, subscribe, and comment. And oh yeah, we ghosting, baby.